Can a snake really eat a crocodile? Well, it's all about that incredible jaw. They don't chew, they just slowly stretch and pull it in.
Picture a snake with no arms, no legs, and no hands, opening its mouth around an animal covered head to tail in bony armor plates. How does that even work? Let's set the rules first. The python has no venom, no claws, no teeth built for tearing meat apart. Just muscle, patience, and a jaw built like nothing else on Earth. The crocodile, for its part, brings raw bite force, violent thrashing power, and a body engineered by millions of years of evolution to survive almost anything that swims, bites, or attacks it. On paper, this matchup shouldn't even be close. But it happens. Pythons have swallowed crocodiles whole, and wildlife biologists have documented it, photographed it, and studied exactly how it's possible. Here's what actually happens when it does. First, the hunt. Pythons are ambush predators, not chasers. They don't run down prey the way a lion does. They wait. A Burmese python can stay almost perfectly motionless near a riverbank for days at a time, sensing heat and vibration through specialized pits along its upper lip. It doesn't need to see the crocodile coming, it can feel it. When the crocodile finally drifts close enough, the python strikes with a speed that catches most people off guard, especially for an animal that looks so heavy and slow the rest of the time. But that strike isn't meant to injure. It's meant to anchor. The python's backward curving teeth lock onto the crocodile's body, giving it just enough grip to begin the next phase. Then it wraps. This is where the real fight begins, and it's also where most people's assumptions about constriction turn out to be wrong. The python coils around the crocodile's body, and with every breath the crocodile tries to take, the python tightens just a little more. It's not crushing bone like a nutcracker. That's a common myth, and it isn't how constriction actually works. Instead, the python relies on a mechanism most people never think about. Research led by biologist Scott Bobak at Dickinson College used pressurized sensors placed inside prey animals to measure exactly how much force a constrictor applies, and precisely what that force does to the body underneath. What his team discovered was striking. Pythons squeeze hard enough to cut off blood flow to the heart within seconds, not minutes. The prey doesn't suffocate first, the way most people assume. Its circulation fails first. Blood pressure inside the body collapses almost immediately, and the brain runs out of oxygen far faster than it would through simple suffocation alone. Against a crocodile, that detail matters enormously. Crocodiles are covered in osteoderms, thick bony plates embedded directly into their skin that make ordinary crushing force nearly useless. You cannot squeeze a crocodile to death the way you might a smaller, softer-bodied animal. So the python isn't fighting the armor at all. It's fighting the plumbing hidden underneath it. Every twist of muscle is timed precisely to the crocodile's own breathing rhythm and heartbeat, tightening further each time the crocodile's chest attempts to expand. Within a couple of minutes, the resistance fades, the thrashing slows, then stops entirely. And now comes the part of this story that seems even less believable than the fight itself. Swallowing something wider than your own head. A python's skull looks nothing like a human jaw, or really any mammal jaw at all. There's no single rigid hinge locking everything in place. Instead, the lower jaw is split into two completely independent halves, connected at the front not by solid bone, but by a stretchy, elastic ligament. Each half can move on its own, walking forward over the prey, almost like two hands taking turns pulling in a length of rope, inch by inch. Researchers studying snake skull mechanics, including work published by Bruce Jane at the University of Cincinnati, have shown that this connective ligament can stretch far beyond anything a mammal jaw could survive without tearing apart. It isn't a party trick, and it isn't some strange exception to normal anatomy. It's an entirely different structural design, shaped by evolution specifically to defeat the size limits every other land predator lives with. But the jaw is only step one of this process. Even with a mouth this flexible, a rigid ribcage packed with solid internal organs shouldn't be able to accommodate something as wide as a crocodile's armored torso. This is where the python's entire skeleton gets pulled into the effort. Unlike humans, snakes don't have a fixed sternum locking their ribs into one solid, unmoving cage. Their ribs are free-floating, attached only at the spine, which means the whole ribcage can splay outward the way an accordion opens when stretched. Add to that a body plan built from roughly 200 individual vertebrae, and you end up with something closer to a flexible tube than a rigid torso. The skin stretches too, with thin overlapping scales sliding apart from one another as the meal is slowly worked further inside. It's slow, it's deliberate, and depending on the size of the prey, it can take hours from the first bite to the final swallow. Before digestion even begins, there's one more danger the python has to survive, and it has nothing to do with the crocodile fighting back. It's the sheer physical strain of the swallow itself. A meal this size presses against the python's lungs and heart from the inside, and biologists have observed snakes repositioning their organs slightly during extreme feeding events just to keep breathing through the process. Even the trachea shifts forward toward the front of the mouth so the snake can still pull in air while its throat is stretched around something the width of a tree trunk. Nothing about this is comfortable, nothing about this is safe, but it works, and it's worked for millions of years. Once the crocodile is fully inside, the python's body faces a second challenge, just as difficult as swallowing it in the first place: digesting it. This is where the story gets genuinely strange, almost science fiction strange. A python's resting metabolism sits at one of the lowest rates recorded in any reptile studied. Most of the time, its internal organs are essentially idling, barely using any energy at all. But the moment a meal this enormous arrives, everything changes almost overnight. Studies from physiologist Jared Diamond's research group, later expanded on by scientists at the University of Alabama, found that a python's internal organs physically grow larger after consuming a massive meal. The heart alone can enlarge by roughly 40% within just 2 or 3 days. The intestines thicken noticeably. Enzyme production inside the gut spikes by several multiples almost overnight. This isn't gradual, background adaptation happening over weeks. It's a full-body metabolic surge, engineered specifically to handle rare, oversized meals, rather than the frequent small snacks most animals rely on. Think about what that actually means for a moment. For a human being, eating one unusually large meal might leave you uncomfortable for an hour or two. For a python that just swallowed an entire crocodile, its organs are essentially rebuilding themselves in real time just to keep pace with what's happening inside its own body. And this is exactly where the trade-off turns brutal. During digestion, a python is almost completely defenseless. It can't move quickly. It can't strike at a threat. It can barely relocate to safer cover if it needs to. Nearly all of its energy, its blood flow, and its oxygen gets redirected toward breaking down bone, dense muscle, and bony armor plating that would take a human digestive system weeks to dissolve, if it could manage the job at all. Python's stomach acid is powerful enough to dissolve bone almost completely, which is part of the reason python droppings after a meal this large contain almost no visible skeletal remains. That crocodile's bones don't just get suppressed by the acid. Most of them get chemically erased entirely, broken down into material the snake's body can actually absorb and use. This entire sequence, from the first strike to the final stage of digestion, can stretch across a week or more from start to finish. One misstep during that long, vulnerable window, one opportunistic predator, one sudden flood, one unlucky human encounter, and the python that just pulled off one of the most extreme feeding feats in the entire animal kingdom could die before it ever gets to benefit from the meal at all. So why go through all of it? Why not just hunt something smaller and far less risky? Because for an ambush predator built around patience rather than speed, size equals efficiency. A single crocodile-sized meal can sustain a large python for months at a stretch, sometimes even longer. In an environment where the next successful hunt is never guaranteed, one enormous high-risk feeding event can be worth more, biologically speaking, than a dozen small, low-risk ones strung together over the same stretch of time. It's the same underlying logic that shows up again and again throughout nature, and honestly, in human decision-making too. The biggest opportunities almost always carry the biggest exposure alongside them. Whether it's an animal risking everything on one enormous meal, or a person risking everything on one major decision, the underlying math tends to look remarkably similar. Bigger reward, bigger vulnerability, and absolutely no guarantee you make it through the process of claiming it. The python doesn't overpower the crocodile through raw strength in the way most people initially imagine. It wins through mechanical design, patient timing, and a body built to bend every rule that a rigid mammalian skeleton would normally enforce. No hands, no venom, no claws built for tearing, just a jaw that unhooks itself piece by piece, a rib cage that opens like a fan, and internal organs that transform almost on command the moment they're needed most. So the next time someone asks whether a snake could really swallow something that big, the answer isn't really about size at all, and it never really was. It's about whether your body is built to become something else entirely, if only for a few dangerous days, just long enough to survive the very meal that could just as easily kill you.